This is the perfect RIA, in case you didn't know. Bringing you all the strategies to help your business grow. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Sit back and listen in while you feel the beat, yeah. Another myth bites the dust.
Hello, TPR Nation. This is Amber Kuhn from The Perfect REA. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday, where I'll be covering the highlights and action items from this week's episodes. The guys had quite the episode Monday. And no, we didn't change the episode title. They were talking about how you need to do the work to actually see results. If you aren't doing the reps and the work, you can't expect things to change. Micah shared how we get caught up with this illusion that sometimes him and Matt make it look so easy and they can spend all this time with their family. But people are missing that one key element, which is work. Matt talked about how we have this endless quest for efficiency, but efficiency is about doing the task faster, and that too often people will say that they're just not going to do the work. Micah's concern is that we're going back to being clock watchers. He said we're going for efficiency, but also effectiveness. And effectiveness is doing the right things. Advisors need to focus on three main things: seeing clients, prospecting, and strategic work. He said if you're not doing those things, you're playing office. The guys spent a lot of time talking about client events, presentations, and meetings, and the time, effort, and energy that's put into the preparation for these events. How you need to do those reps. Matt mentioned how before his latest client event, he put time into making sure that things were working down to replacing the batteries in the remote. He wanted everything to be the best. He also took time before that event to visualize how he was going to talk to every person in the room. One thing Micah does and recommends is that you practice being distracted. So when you get distracted or when you make a mistake, and I didn't say if, when, you have a plan for how you're going to get back on track. The guys talked about how they don't walk into a client meeting without knowing that they are fully prepared and ready to deliver value. But in order to do that, you have to practice. They said the advisors who are delivering the most value are the ones that are doing the hard things. And it's not about just hours in the seat. It's doing the hard things. Matt and Micah then discuss how do they create value to their clients, because everything counts. Micah said one way to do this is record yourself and watch it back. Now, a warning on this, it's painful to do, but you'll realize the importance of it because things will go blank as soon as you turn the camera on yourself. He said that this is where mediocre advisors stop. You're not going to get to rockstar status if you're not willing to do the hard things. Matt said that the advisors that are at the top of the game are doing the hard things, and it's 100% correlated with how hard they work. He said when there's hard work that he doesn't want to do, he'll then try to connect it with a dollar amount. The guys talked about how once you get to game day, you want to make sure that you are controlling everything you possibly can. And that happens by doing everything you can to prepare and assume that everything will stop working in preparing in that manner. So when you're doing presentations, Micah recommends that you're practicing at a level that your subconscious is running the presentation. He said that allows your conscious brain to look at the audience and then engage with them. And this was something that someone actually brought up on a recent power session. It was this concern about being authentic versus inauthentic, and are you manipulating a situation? But as Micah shared, this is all about being an effective communicator, not about manipulation. The guys wrapped up the episode by sharing that you need to look at what all the successful people are doing and do that. It's hard work, but it's not complex. Follow what works and don't make this overcomplicated, and do the work. Don't reinvent the wheel. Let's get into action items from Monday's episode. Whatever you're working on, figure out what are the hard reps that you need to do and do them. If you aren't sure what those things are, find someone who's crushing what you're trying to accomplish and do that. And then on those reps, what's the one thing that you could do to add 10x the value? And lastly, Delivering Massive Value, the bonus edition, is available. You can order your copy today and just pay shipping. Visit theperfectrea.com/book. On this week's What Works Wednesday, Matt was joined by comedian Cory Michaelis. Matt first saw Cory at the Tacoma Comedy Club, and he ended up taking a class that Cory taught. Matt mentioned on Monday's episode how he recommends advisors take a speaking class or comedy class to help with public speaking or for your presentations and client meetings. He's a big advocate of people taking stand-up comedy classes because you're getting that instant feedback on how you're doing. Matt does a lot of public speaking, and people will comment that there's this idea that people are naturally funny, but Cory said it's all preparation in advance. And Matt talked about how you have to be intentional no matter what you're presenting. So Cory talked about his background, and he said that he used to teach high school and that some of the best teachers had the best personal reference relative to the subject that they were teaching. He said just making a reference to people that they get sometimes will make them laugh because it surprises them. So he said if you're able to talk about your lives a little bit that's relatable to clients, that will help. He said personability, some misdirection, and maybe knowing what people find funny is valuable in all times of speaking. Matt shared how once he found out that comics use the same material, he felt like he could transfer that same idea to client meetings. So he tells the same joke at every prospect meeting about the fact that there isn't a deadbolt on the door. He said it takes the tension down in the room. Cory said part of what helps with this is because you're also getting information across. He said you have a connection about what you're saying and how you're trying to engage. He said what we're playing on in the brain is that humans have the ability to tell the future, and people aren't expecting you to say certain things. Matt and Cory talked about the importance of preparation, no matter what you're doing. For Cory, he said anytime he thinks he's going to wing something, it's not realistic. He said maybe you're giving yourself too much credit to be able to do this, and you're probably not going to nail it. He said he never wants to go into a presentation where he hasn't prepared well. He recommends that you say things over and over and over again, and that the people who do this best have an illusion of spontaneity, that they're not actually spontaneous. It just appears that way. Cory and Matt wrapped up the episode by stating that preparing helps you get the wording right, and it also helps for memory purposes. And that when it comes to material you want to know, you should engage in it as many different times and as many different ways as possible. And that really it all comes down to that level of intentionality. You could get away with a mediocre presentation, but then you're going to remain mediocre. Let's get into action items from Wednesday's episode. Find Cory's show and take one of his comedy classes. It'll make you a financial advisor because it'll help you be intentional about what you're saying. You can learn more about Cory and connect with him by visiting CoryMichaelis.com or Cory Michaelis Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. On this week's Worlds to Conquer, Jamie continued the conversation on EAs and email delegation. Now, as a reminder, Jamie said you should only hire an EA or VA if you're looking for more time in your life. She said that if you wonder what you could get done if you just had a little more time, then you need to immediately hire an EA or VA. Jamie's EA handles both personal and professional tasks. Their whole job is to make Jamie's life functional, and it allows her to focus on the things that only she can do. The first task Jamie handed over was email delegation. She said this was so hard to do and she couldn't imagine how someone else could handle this. But she said this is the first thing that will really transform your efforts towards freedom. She said it's critical if you want to get hyper vigilant about being efficient, delivering massive value to clients, spending more time out of the office, and being highly profitable. Jamie recommends setting your EA up with email delegation. That will help them to toggle between their email and yours. She said that email is a sand trap of productivity and it makes you reactionary. So she has her email time intentionally time blocked. When she's in there, it's because something needs her attention. And this is a reminder about the perfect week that Jamie shared a couple of weeks ago. And members, don't forget this example is available to you within our member site. Now, once you got this set up, Jamie said the first thing you should do is create email rules of escalation. That way the EA knows that there are things that immediately need to get in front of Jamie. They can follow the policy and escalate things if there's an emergency. You also want to set up a client's @ address. This provides an inbox to make sure that your clients' matters are handled. Now, one important thing to note that Jamie sets is an expectation that a client won't receive immediate response if they're emailing her personal email. She lets her clients know that she's most likely in a meeting and to make sure that their email is responded to in a timely manner, that they need to email that client's @ email address and the team will respond. Jamie's EA will organize emails according to priority and will forward any emails that need to go to clients @. She'll take care of renewals or little tasks and will delegate tasks if they involve different team members. Once emails are filtered out, that then allows Jamie to only focus on the emails that she needs to respond to. This is all about intentionality. Jamie talked about how email has now become the instant message, but it's electronic mail. So if you've set the expectation that you instantly respond to emails, you need to fix this. So with those rules of escalation, you need a clear communication policy for what and when something should be escalated. For Jamie, that's when someone dies, when something tragic happens, when something involves a deadline, or something involves the movement of money because of the deadline. The team knows when those things happen, they pick up the phone and call Jamie. Everything else gets de-escalated. Jamie said if you don't create rules of escalation, then everything will get escalated. Now, even though Jamie isn't in the office all the time and isn't in her email all the time, her team knows that the second they ring that bell, Jamie will be there. Jamie trusts that her team will only bring her in when they need her. Jamie also cautions against using the phrase, "I have a quick question for you." If it's a quick question, then she empowers her team to answer. She said if they can't answer, then they need to schedule time with her. She said you have to create the rules and the boundaries and how you want to operate, but understand that it won't always go smoothly from the start. Let's get into action items from Thursday's episode. Get your EA or VA a delegate credential login so that they can log into your email and start filtering. Figure out when you're scheduling intentional time to look at your email and respond. Get it off of your phone. You need to have a client's email address and make sure that you're setting expectations for this. And start training your clients that you're not instantly available all the time. Develop a communication policy and rules of escalation. And then remember, we will be holding the Perfect REA and Retirement Tax Services live events at the end of September. Visit theperfectrea.com to get your tickets. That wraps up this week's recap. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday. Be sure to give us 5 stars wherever you're enjoying this podcast and share this or any of our episodes with another advisor or team member who you think might benefit from listening. And until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The Perfect RIA.